Why do you hate Tyreek Hill?
Wow, I see. Another spoiler, Justin Herbert is on my hot seat.
Yeah, as bad as the Bucs were, they still had Tom Brady. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. I am your host, Brian McFadden. I am joined, as I am every Wednesday night, with my partner in crime, Kevin Phillip Fox. Kevin, we got a new intro. We didn't even know it was coming. Anthony was late, and he's already redeemed himself.
Not cool, man. You guys sprung that on me on the air, man. I'm hearing my own hot takes echoed back to me. I'm hearing you calling me out on my hot takes. That was fun. That was cool to hear that, for real. That's good work, Anthony, for real.
Yeah, like I said, that makes up for the fact that he was running a couple minutes behind today. Totally redeemed himself.
Let's go.
All right, 30 minutes of football. If this is your first time here, we're always going to remind you, it's exactly that. We set a timer. We talk about whatever's on our mind. There is no script, no agenda, just straight up NFL football talk for 30 minutes. So we will break briefly for halftime after 15 minutes. We will go on one topic, we will go on many topics, and we will take questions from live viewers. If you have anything, feel free to derail us at any time. Anthony, if you got the timer ready, let's go ahead and get this party started. 30 minutes of football with Legit Football starts now. Shout out to Oscar, already in the chat, one of our social heroes, especially on IG.
The GOAT.
Kevin, you know where I'm going to start with this. I already teased it. We started to talk before the show, and I said, no, let's save it for the show. All right, you're a Bills fan.
Yeah.
You're the Bills fan in the Legit Football family. Yeah. A certain number 2, according to you, wide receiver in the NFL decided to add a little drama early to start this week. Stephon Diggs did practice today, but showed up, took a physical, and then pieced out earlier this week to the point where Sean McDermott said, quote, "It's concerning." So I'm just going to give you the floor. What are your thoughts as our preeminent Bills fan on the Stephon Diggs situation? And I'll give you my thoughts after.
I appreciate you giving me the floor. If you had asked me yesterday, I was just a ball of emotion. I wouldn't have been as calm as I am now. I'm able to.
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
There we go. We got some Ron Burgundy on the show. That's what I'm talking about. No, it was undoubtedly overblown, right? But and I've been banging this drum all offseason. I didn't love the Scorched Earth tour. I didn't love the drama. And I didn't feel like it would go away quietly without a bow. I'm really hoping this is the neat little bow tied on the Steph Diggs offseason drama. I really hope it's not a sign of things to come, Brian, because this kind of stuff does create distractions for championship runs. So that's my read on it personally, is that I what I've gathered is that there were talks that heated up prior to McDermott's press conference. Okay, let's take it easy with the ticker, Anthony. I think
I didn't even put it back up. I didn't even get to see what it said.
He said a sign of things to come. No.
Oh, just leave it up there. A sign of things to come, Kevin. Perfect. It's a quote. You said it. So
disrespectful. No. So from what I've gathered, they had an intense conversation following Diggs' physical prior to the practice that prompted both sides to need a break, to need space. Diggs left. It was excused. Immediately after the first question McDermott is asked, is it concerning to you that or are you concerned that a player is missing practice? And he said, I'm very concerned. It's what you expect a head coach to say, especially one of McDermott's caliber. He's very much kind of a strict. He's kind of more of the I would say he's more of the what's the term? Type A, I guess. He's kind of on the more rigid side of things. So I'm not surprised that's how he answered the question. The media did what they do and what they're supposed to do. They turned the very concerned quote into the story that we've been hearing for days.
It was a direct quote.
It was. He literally said
you didn't need to read between the lines.
But I think the parties came back together today following the clarity that McDermott provided about why Diggs left and why he wasn't there. He was there today. I got my video of Diggs and Josh Allen doing their handshake. That was really all I was looking for as a Bills fan.
Sure, but what was the conversation that caused Diggs to leave the facility? That's what I want to know. And that caused McDermott to use the word, quote, very concerning. What was it about? What do you have a theory? Do you know anything from
best guess-
Bills beat reporters?
The Bills beat is on fire, and I've seen theories ranging from DeAndre Hopkins to Josh Allen's love life to yada yada. But I think genuinely what the most realistic thing is, I think he was unhappy with
Josh
his
Allen's
utilization.
isn't he dating Haley Stein?
He's dating the star of the #1 movie in the world. I digress. We'll talk about that later.
He's dating Hawkeye. How is that a bad thing?
It doesn't get better.
You're dating an MCU superhero.
Yeah, literally. And Spider-Verse. What's her name? Gwen?
She's Gwen Stacy in the Spider-Verse.
She's a superstar. Good for Josh. I'm very happy for him. But this is a football show. My best guess is his utilization down the stretch significantly tailed. In my opinion, it correlated with Josh's UCL injury, but there wasn't
100%. Yeah.
a huge effort to get him targets.
Was that me? I got a bot. I got a bot now.
That was you.
Yeah.
And I thought my camera froze.
Yay. I finally got a bot.
You just saying 100%. I love it. I think it was the utilization. His targets went down significantly in the second half of the season. Anybody who had him in fantasy felt that pain in the last, 4 games of the season. And in the playoffs, you can't target your superstar wide receiver who you pay top 5 money 6 times in a playoff game. It's just not enough. And I think Diggs has aptly pointed out that Dorsey's offense lost its rhythm down the stretch. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I don't love that it bled into minicamp. I don't love how he's handled it. But here we are.
So I was just bringing up his stats because I was curious. Yes, and these are the stats of the season. And if it was specific to late season and playoffs, that makes a little more sense. But he had more receptions in 2022 than 2021. Not by much. His target share is about the same. His yardage went up. His touchdown was 1 higher. It doesn't really look like they're utilizing him less in general, at least over the course of a season. So this is, from my outside perspective, minus the like I said, the playoff nuance that you gave it.
Yeah.
And he recently signed an extension. So I've been trying to figure out, what could it be? This is a team who is, yes, they haven't gone to the mountaintop yet, but they were pretty freaking close. He's getting utilized like a star receiver. He's getting paid like a star receiver.
Yeah.
And then was it so bad? Okay, he's upset after the playoffs. Good, he's a competitor. But why then did it carry over into June? That was January. So I'm baffled. I feel like there's more that we don't know here, Kevin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I absolutely love the nuance that you're bringing because I feel the same way. I don't love seeing him act this way. To be honest with you, I'm a culture guy first and foremost. I am a person, I'm a people person first and foremost. So that is the business that I'm looking at when I'm looking at football. And so from those angles, if it's me or my team, I'm not super thrilled with how he's chosen to handle this so publicly and so dramatically. I think these conversations needed to happen in March and April and over the phone. And, the first time seeing each other in 5 months should have happened before minicamp, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, super conspiracy. It's after a physical. Did he come in out of shape? And I don't know, that's probably not the case.
Yeah,
but it's these are the questions we start asking when we don't have more information.
The speculation is maybe the worst part of it all, but let me tell you this. Diggs had 4 consecutive single target games down the stretch from December to the end of the season. I don't think that's okay. I don't think Diggs should ever have less than 10. But he had a game with 9, a game with 5, a game with 9, a game with 2, 3 in a row, 4 in a row. And, he's Stephon Diggs. The utilization, it ticked up. He had 10 targets the last game of the season.
Let's go down this road. Let's say that
let's do it.
That is the case. He talks to McDermott and whoever else from the staff after his physical, complains about, hey, I should have gotten the ball more. What would Sean McDermott say? No, Stephon Diggs, you shouldn't have got the... we're still missing a vital piece of information,
no doubt.
I think.
Absolutely. And I think we probably will. Buffalo does a pretty good job keeping things in-house. Another rumor, Bills wide receiver coach Chad Hall departed this offseason. Contract expired, was not fired. Allegedly, his wife wanted to move to Florida. He took a job in Jacksonville to be their wide receiver coach, a lateral move. Chad Hall was the Bills receivers guy. I believe they bought him a truck. It's that kind of situation. I think either they didn't include Diggs in the hiring of the new wide receiver coach, or they didn't include him in the process of trying to get Hall to stay. And I think Diggs sees the way that the organization treats Josh and the amount of sway that Josh Allen had when picking offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. So all those
It's
things,
called playing quarterback. We're going to get to that.
100%.
And
I
another
I
topic I wanna
couldn't
talk about.
agree with you more. And that's the struggle, is like, he is a star receiver. He is a top 15 player in the league. I have him as one of my best receivers in the NFL. I still feel that way. But I will say this, some of the ugliness that reared its head in Minnesota, I think, is bleeding its way into Buffalo. I think it's part of who he is.
We've kind of seen this before. Yeah, that's. I mean, you got what you paid for. It's certainly paid off.
And I think it will continue to. I think the fire is important to a degree. Yeah. I'd like the time and place variable to be respected a little bit more by him and his camp moving forward. That being said, you can. There's a popular saying in hip hop. It's you do what you want when you poppin'. Steph Diggs is on that level. Unfortunately, nobody's gonna say a word to him. He's gonna be suited up catching passes week 1, and everybody's gonna forget all about this stuff.
I'm gonna use that as a segue. You do what you want while you poppin'.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
Some could say he had a poppin' season.
Big time.
Right? All-pro.
Great transition.
Second All-Pro out of 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Was the engine that made that Giants offense run all the way into the playoffs and a playoff victory. His quarterback gets paid, some might consider a little bit more than he's worth, right? Full contract, 4 years, like, what was it, $44 million a year, somewhere in that range?
It's a bit steep for me.
They tag Saquon, can't give him a deal. The latest from him at a charity event is that he's considering, or would at least consider, sitting out a season to make his point. He's popping, but he can't do what he wants while he's popping.
And that's the unfortunate part of playing the running back position, because
that's what I want to get into. I want to talk about we've had the value prop positional value discussion before.
A lot,
but
yeah.
It's topical with Saquon, so I want to get into that. Your thoughts first.
Shout out to Oscar for this. I'm sweating over here now more than I was before.
Don't do that to him. It's Saquon's not going to the Buffalo.
Not happening.
No.
But here's the thing, Brian. I actually think, and I joked about this on the Legit Football Podcast, I actually think that the running backs should create a union. It's a little bit of a joke, right? But Josh Jacobs is talking about paving the way for the future. I think Saquon Barkley absolutely deserves to be paid like a top 5 player at his position. And right now, top 5 player at running back is poo-poo. It's nothing. So that needs to change, right? Like, unless these players are going to stop playing running back, like someday we're going to run out of running back talent because nobody wants to be a running back. Nobody wants to take all that wear and tear on their body and be considered washed at age 27. You know, it's just not fun. It's just not fair to these people. So I'd like to see an improvement, especially Saquon. Yeah, since you specifically asked about Saquon, there's no question he deserves a contract. No question.
Deserve is the wrong word here. I have never doubted that he deserves it. I've never doubted that Eckler deserves it. But nobody's paying it.
Right.
Nobody
there.
is paying it. It's not there. And guys, I think Saquon in the end will find a deal with the Giants. But let's talk about Josh Jacobs. Yeah. Josh McDaniels, they won't care. They won't sign. They'll just be like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Like, coming from the Belichick tree, you think he cares about one in particular running back? And Jacobs, who led the league in rushing last year, still not quite on Saquon. He's not on Saquon's level, though.
Not quite. No.
And that engine did not run through Jacobs.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to compete for anything this year anyway. So my point being, the last time we saw a running back take this kind of a stand, so neither Saquon nor Josh Jacobs has signed their tender, and they, from what I can see, intend to hold out until deals are done. They refuse to play on the tender. We saw a running back do this for the sake of the people. By the way, Josh Jacobs put on social about how sometimes it's not about you, it's about the guys who come after you. I get that. I love the noble cause. I do, but reality is the last guy to do this was the top running back in the league, young in his prime.
I know the name you're going to say, and it's
came back, throw up. Got a bag, and completely fell off a cliff and did nothing. The running back market has gotten worse since then, and that's Le'Veon Bell.
He reversed the course. He set the running backs back.
Right. He
You
proved the wrong point. He proved the other side. So that's what I'm I want to get in this discussion for the sake of the Saquons and the Jacobs and the guys who come after them, is that, hey, I get it. I understand that frustration, but the reality is they're not going to pay you. That position is not valued in the modern NFL anywhere near some of these other positions. It's just the reality of it. So yes, kids coming up, Kevin, may decide not to play running back. That's probably a good idea. If you are playing running back, your shelf life is lower because you take so many hits. It's a very physical position, and your top end dollar is lower as well, and you just have to maximize within that frame. But fighting for the principle of the running backs to come after you, it's a losing cause, is my point. It's a losing cause. As much as I love the idea and the idealism, it's a losing cause. Find a deal that gets you as much as you can, maybe not as much as you would like, but as much as you can within the market. Take the deal, get some money, and move on with your career.
Yeah, it really does feel like a losing cause, and I am sort of like with you a little bit. I think myself, I'm not sure if I would have the stones to walk away from a bunch of millions of dollars just for the sake of, pride or nobility, like you said. I don't know if I have that in me. I might just be like, let me, try to squeeze as much out of this, wring as much money out of this washcloth as I possibly can before I say, all right, I'll sign my name on the dotted line, because at the end of the day, we say it all the time on the show, but like, these people are, thank you, halftime whistle. I'm good to keep it moving. Shout out to Tyler. Tyler is one of the dopest people ever. If you've ever had the chance to meet him, Brian, he's dope. He's super dope. Great singer.
I've spoken to him briefly, I think, a few times, but love the last name. So
have you ever heard twins harmonize? It's a crazy thing.
I mean, I've heard their music before, so
it's a beautiful thing.
I'm sure they harmonized in there. Real quick, halftime. Make sure to sign up for the newsletter. We don't mention that enough. This is our opportunity to say this whole thing exists because of the Legit Football free daily newsletter. The top stories of the day in 5 minutes or less delivered directly to your inbox. Just go to legitfootball.com, sign up. You won't regret it, and you'll have better insight into all the various things that we talk about on this show, on the Legit Football NFL show, and across all of our socials. So there you go. There's our halftime plug for the day. Legitfootball.com. Sign up for the newsletter. It is 100% free and always will be. Kevin, I am ready to roll into the second half. How about you?
Let's get it, man. I'm so ready. Shout out to Tyler for this. Of course, man, anytime. So,
let's wrap up the running back.
Yeah. It just takes a certain kind of acumen and a certain kind of person to do what these guys are doing, and I do respect it from a like you said, a nobility standpoint, a pride standpoint. On the other side of the coin, the GMs might just never come around, and the market might never correct. And I don't think it's ever going to be a dead position because it's kind of very vital to football, but it might just always be a rookie deal kind of thing. You might just I've seen it.
But Saquon can get paid. The Giants have offered him contracts. It's just not what he is seeking. So it's one thing. I have no idea what the Raiders have done, but there's multiple reports that the Giants have made offers to Saquon in somewhere in the 12 to 14 million range, which is
he's got to sign that so fast.
That's what I mean. So that was my point in all this.
Yeah.
Nothing but admiration, and I get what you guys are doing.
Right, it's nice.
But it's a losing cause.
At a certain point, you have to sort of
you have to do what's best for you. You have to get yours because
would push the market forward. That would help running backs.
It's kind of right in there. It wouldn't really push it.
You raise the median, right? You raise the median.
Yeah.
If
they both sign in that
deal,
range.
And what I'm thinking too, Brian, really quick, is did you hear Dalvin Cook is seeking in the $9 to $12 million range?
Well, yeah. I mean, he was making 10 with
Minnesota. But that's the kind of deal that he's not going to get. I don't see that happening. I see him in this $5 to $7 million range.
So I just real quick, I looked up CMC is averaging 16 mil a year. So that's the top of the market right there.
So 12 to 14. Okay. Nice. Would absolutely raise the median, which absolutely helps the cause.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's tough.
You raise enough of those medians and the tag price goes up too. So, I mean, if you're trying to help the guys after you, sign a 14 mil per year deal.
If the 12 to 14 reports are true, I think Saquon should sign it.
Yeah.
I'm ready to move past this conversation. That's a nice little...
I wanted to get my thoughts out there on that specific issue. I have brought up the first two topics, Kevin. We got just under 13 minutes left. Why don't you tell us what's on your mind right now?
Okay, Brian, apart from Tyreek Hill, across all the top 5 lists, is there anything that sticks out to you for a positive or a negative reason that you want to talk about? I've been doing them for weeks now. We have some really fun ones. There's been some love on some of them. I'm excited to talk about the love or the hate. I like both.
I think I saw, what was it, the breakout wide receiver one came out today.
Yes.
And I think you had Calvin Ridley, number 1.
I do.
He had a season with like 90 catches and 1,400 yards.
I believe I called it a re-breakout.
Correct, but is there such a thing? I think that was what I wanted. Is that
counts?
You've already broken out once. You were, I think, a top 5 wide receiver in the entire league.
But you can become
3
not,
seasons
though.
ago. So then it's a comeback, not as opposed to a breakout, right?
I should do a comeback. I like that idea.
Yeah, right. It's
comeback
a Geno
players.
Smith type role versus
you
a breakout
next
come
video,
out of nowhere.
Brian. Look at that.
Top 5 comeback candidates for
How about
2023. There you go.
let's throw letter of the law out though. Is there any names on any of the lists that you're like, that name, I'm really glad he put that there, or this name doesn't belong there, other than Tyreek Hill, other than maybe comeback player of the year, Calvin Ridley? Nah, DeMar Hamlin has that.
I don't have it off the top of my head. Nothing has stood out, which is
So I'll
good.
say
That means
this.
I agreed with it.
I think it is good. Hey, Thomas, what up, man? Better late than never. Good to see you, man. Brian, I do want to give extra flowers to Thomas. He keeps the chat popping on the show. He keeps the chat moving, man. He is active.
Thomas is the man. Thomas, if you did not shout him out already, Thomas is now a member of the Legit Football family. He is doing those amazing graphics that you might have started to see on our Instagram. I know Oscar has seen those. So, Oscar, you like all those graphics that are coming up? That is our boy Thomas right there in the chat. So, give him some kudos.
Oscar, could not agree more here. Absolutely. How about we talk about Terry McLaurin? How about that?
I'm fine with that, yeah.
Because Thomas gave him a special post on his own social media. Like he got his own post. And I am so stoked to see this. And you know what? For that matter, I mean, I might as well loop in the Commanders on the whole. I think the arrow's pointing up for their offense, Brian. I really do. Jahan Dotson is getting an insane amount of buzz.
As it usually does, it all comes down to the quarterback. If Sam Howell is decent, they've got a good roster, not just offense. They've got a good, I love Brian Bott.
Agreeing with yourself.
I just agree with myself. I mean, it doesn't get any better. But they could compete in a not too strong NFC. The Commanders could be right there.
I think Sam Howell, you're right. It all does come down to the quarterback. And what's great about Sam Howell is he's not one of those like, oh, he would have gone a lot higher had he had better traits. Like his athleticism and his arm are there. So
he was projected to be a first rounder 2 years before he came out.
He was getting first overall buzz.
He was
a couple years
a little
ago.
bit of first overall buzz. Yep.
Yeah, there was. And so now he's, so he clearly has the acumen. He clearly has the athletic profile. Things didn't break for him. But he's not like one of those Desmond Ridder types that's just going to sort of, hit their marks. Sam Howell can do stuff. So this could be big for Terry McLaurin because they did flash a little bit of chemistry towards the end of the year when Howell got a start. Jahan Dotson has been flashing in camp. I've always loved Antonio Gibson. I've just hated what's happened to him. I had him on my dynasty team. I had to sell him.
They've got Chris Rodriguez and Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. They did get rid of McKissick. J.D. McKissick is no longer there, and he was their primary pass catching back. So Gibson could fall into that role.
McKissick had a really bad year this past year.
There's a lot of running backs there, is my point. I like Gibson. I think he has a role, but he's not going to be a take over the game type running back, which some people thought he would be.
He was randomly, consistently an RB1 to start his career a couple years in a row.
As a rookie, yes.
Yeah, and I want to say maybe his second year he was an RB1 too as well, because I think last year was the first year.
No, I don't. I think he fell off, but I'm gonna double check.
Yeah, double check, because I think Gibson is one of those players that you're always surprised by their end of the year stat line. You're like, oh, they just out consistency everybody else, and they get.
You're right. PPR, RB 13, and as a rookie, RB 12.
Yeah,
and then RB 27 last year.
And even RB 27, even being a high end RB 3, given that Brian Robinson all but stole his job, like it was hard to watch as a Gibson truther. I just love Gibson's talent, but those fumbles, man, that's a real problem. that will keep you on the pine.
Yeah.
Especially with Ron Rivera. But look for a potential resurgence in the Commanders this year from their sort of down year last year. I think they'll be an interesting team. Good vibes. Good vibes.
I need. It's hard to say any of that until I see Sam Howell. One game does not make a successful quarterback. I need to see him play out a course of a full season in a tough division, one of the tougher divisions in the NFC.
Definitely.
Going up against Dallas twice, going up against the Eagles twice.
Yeah.
And against the Giants, who made a Super Bowl or made a playoffs last year and won a game. So that's the biggest thing. Yeah, Thomas mentions Logan Thomas. Apparently, Logan Thomas is healthy.
Former Bill.
They've got weapons all across the board. They've got a decent offensive line, a very good defensive front with or without Chase Young. I love Emmanuel Forbes. He was one of my favorite rookie defensive backs. Apparently, he's been making all sorts of plays in camp.
Of course.
So any of you all 22 players out there who draft cornerbacks will be looking at Emmanuel Forbes. So they've got it all across the board. It comes down to the quarterback. Honestly.
Yeah,
and Eric Bieniemy, oh, by the way, is calling plays.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, that could be huge for unlocking Howell's potential, McLaurin's potential. The thing is, McLaurin, I do have him on my breakout list, and it's almost like it's not like Ridley in a sense that, it's a re-breakout. It's like he's been, again, just like Gibson, he's just been so consistent and so above average that, like we've said, Brian, a million times, if he has any sort of even just above average quarterback play, he could be a top 5 to 10 receiver, like talent wise. Like he is just such a stud. He plays the wide receiver position so effectively. He's a technician, route runner, good hands. So that's going to be exciting to watch. Thomas, Oscar, or Brian, anyone. I got my Commanders take off. I've really felt good about that. I felt good about shining a positive light on the Commanders because they got rid of Ding Dong the Witch is dead, right? They got rid of Dan Schneider. That's the big thing. That's really, the
not official yet, but yes, it's looking like it's heading in that direction.
The clouds are going to start clearing from their stadium, and I think brighter days are ahead for that team for sure.
So interesting from just like a fantasy perspective, McLaurin hasn't scored a lot of touchdowns. And he's still been productive. That's what I'm thinking. There could be some positive touchdown regression. He had 5 last year, 5 in 2021, 4 in 2020, and he had 7 as a rookie.
Yeah, those are not the best numbers if you're a fantasy player and you've had Terry McLaurin. I've been trying to get him on the cheap in Dynasty. I think this is the last chance for me that he's going to be a buy candidate for Dynasty, like right in the now range before we get a chance to see what's up with Howell. If you can get McLaurin for his floor price, which is what we already know to be like a low end 2, I would go out there and get him because it might be the thing that wins you a championship this year. If McLaurin takes off the way that it looks like he might be and if Dodson takes off more pressure and if, Eric Bieniemy helps things, move along the way we think it's going to, something to look out for. Just throwing that 100%, in there.
Yeah. See, I can just agree with everything without saying a word. It's beautiful. God, one more topic, at least before we wrap this up. We got about.
Really quick, left. Thomas. I'll just address this. If I'm them, I would get him out of there myself personally because you could accrue
some
so
trade
much
value.
It gets so many assets. He still has such a big name,
and you have a deep line.
You do.
Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne. You've got. It'd be amazing to also have Young, but you got a bunch of other first rounders there, and you can fill that gap.
Why bother holding the bag if he's just going to keep getting injured? Sorry, Brian. Why don't you transition us into our last topic of the evening?
Geno Smith. I wanted to, and this is probably more than a 4-minute discussion, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the Geno Smith hype train. Is what we saw last year legit? So we did. We did a tweet on Legit Football I think a couple weeks ago about his advanced metrics were crazy. Yeah. Give me thoughts real quick. I'll bring up the tweet. So
listen, my thoughts on Geno Smith are very, very straightforward, signed, sealed, delivered. This man is absolutely primed to be an absolute dog this year. I think he's going to snap, Brian. I think with those receivers, their receiving core got better. Their defense got better. Their running game got better. I said it on the Legit Football Pod recently. I don't think it's crazy to think that they could, if the Niners don't get their quarterback situation figured out, if Purdy's slow on the uptick or injured, I think the Seahawks absolutely can contend for that division. I really do.
So for the 2022 NFL season, this was the tweet. Geno Smith led all quarterbacks in completion percentage. All of them. 69.8, best completion percentage in the entire NFL.
That accurate.
Fourth in QB rating, passer rating at 100.9. Fourth in on-target percentage at 78.8. And third in completed air yards, which means he was not dinking and dunking. He was one of the best deep passers in the NFL last year.
Yeah. You
go and add Jackson Smith and Jigba to
That's
DK
huge.
Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. You have an offensive line that started 2 rookie tackles who actually played pretty well. They're
Might
going
start
into their
gelling.
second year.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker, add Zach Charbonnet on there.
Yep.
I kind of think Geno's for real.
Yeah.
Now, I do own a share of him in Dynasty, so
Nice.
I should make that
Nice.
caveat. Picked him up on a waiver when he replaced Russ, and now he's one of my
Sick.
starting quarterbacks.
That's so
But
sick.
but aside, like, if you look at his career, he start with the Jets, right?
Yeah,
so that was
tough
where he
start.
started. He was drafted as second round, playing in Rex Ryan, that offense.
Getting punched in the face, having his jaw broken by a teammate.
Right, exactly.
Kind
And
of slowed his development a little bit.
he just, I just think he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready to
Yeah.
start it. He played behind a lot of great quarterbacks since. He was with the Giants, I think, when Eli was still there.
I believe so.
Played behind Russ for what that's worth these days. But
Right.
I think this is a genuine case. If he just took 10 years to mature, to understand the game, kept himself ready, and these were not fluke things. This was an entire season of him being one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the entire league.
Yeah, I love the love that Geno Smith is getting, and I actually couldn't agree more. And I'm glad that you bring it up because it really shows the human side of football. And if you're resilient and if you work really hard, they always say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. He stayed ready. And his moment came, and it came in such a weird, unique way. And the Seahawks were left for dead last year, and rightfully so. There was no evidence to suggest that they would be anything more than a bottom dweller. And Geno Smith went out there and proved everybody wrong, and that's what football's about. That's what we love to see, those romantic, beautiful stories of human perseverance. That's why we love football.
He still hasn't written back.
He'll never write back.
He'll never write back.
It's just not going to happen.
Geno, to bring things full circle here, do what you do while you're popping. And you're popping right now.
Do what you want when you popping, Geno. That's what's up. And I think this is going to be one of those stretches, those late career stretches that could define his legacy, like a Kurt Warner type stretch. I don't think it will be that great. I don't think it will be that meteoric,
But
but
it
I
has
think
that
Geno
potential.
absolutely could be a Kurt Warner type player.
The whistle has blown. The game is up. Post-game press conference. Kevin Phillip Fox, how does your team perform on 30 Minutes of Football today?
To be honest with you, I'm very concerned with how they perform.
I love it. Let's just end it there. Nothing
Full
else needs to be said. We brought a whole bunch of comebacks in a single show. That's how we do it here, guys. Thank you, Oscar, Thomas, Tyler, anyone else who was in the chat. Thank you to everybody who's listening. If you're first time here, like and subscribe. This is 30 Minutes of Football. We go live every Wednesday on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, 11 Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Make sure to check out the Legit Football NFL podcast Mondays and Fridays. And, of course, check out Legit Football everywhere, including our website, legitfootball.com. Sign up for the free newsletter. Kevin, always a pleasure. Love this every Wednesday.
Such a pleasure, man. It's awesome.
Have a good night, guys. We'll see you next time. Why do you hate Tyreek Hill?
Wow, I see. Another spoiler, Justin Herbert is on my hot seat.
Yeah, as bad as the Bucs were, they still had Tom Brady.